Alright, this is another test on the one paper that I just haven't been able to figure out kind of lock and key with in terms of it accepting any type of media that I've thrown at it so far. Now, I haven't tried some stays on. I gotta imagine that's going to, I don't know, apply to this just fine in terms of impressions, but do we want to just use this holographic style of paper with just impressions only, like stamping it in black or something like that, and just leaving it at that? To me, that's not terribly interesting. I do like to apply some different types of tones on my pieces in terms of creating shadows or just something in addition to just the plain stamped image right over the top of it. Alright, so I've tried some different media on here, and because of this non-porous type of surface, I haven't been gotten anything to stick so far. I think I've tried some different brands of inks on here before, and it just didn't dry at all. I can just wipe it right off after several days. Now that happens on the foils as well, but maybe I didn't give it a chance to dry if I did try it with the Brilliance inks before, okay? The Brilliance inks are supposed to be designed to dry on a non-porous surface, so something like a foil. It doesn't dry fast, but on most other types of porous papers, even like a metallic Stardream, they do dry, okay? But on this one, I don't know if it's going to be different than the foils I've been using, so let's give it a try. Now, I tried something kind of in the spirit of like a Northern Light type of thing, and this would be ideal for that type of thing. With that holographic type of look, and getting those types of colors up in the sky, if we can just darken out other parts of it, okay? Now, I'm sure we can use something like a Sharpie pen, but that's not going to look good on something like this. So let's try this process that I tried on a silver foil recently, where I did apply some of this Brilliance black in it, and then I went back in with a subtractive arc, and I kind of streaked some lines, or curtains as they call it, back up into the scene, okay? So let's see if this is going to work, okay? Now, I'm not worried too much about my application of this media on here, okay? I mean, I do want it to look okay. I don't want to just glob it everywhere. But for the most part, the marks that I'm going to be the most concerned with are my subtractive marks going back in. So I'm streaking on, but I'm going to streak off, and that's going to give me kind of a smoother rendition of those kind of hanging, curtain lights up there, okay? Now, let me see. As I do this, I feel that this is not really spreading as far as I thought it would, okay? It is going a little bit, but it's not like, I don't know, it's not like black shoe polish or something like that. That could be a good sign, I don't know. I'm hoping that I can do those subtractive marks on here, but I don't know, we'll see. Okay, now, on my test on the foil, I kind of built up color like this a little bit more because if you streak on, kind of what you're doing is you're removing ink as well, okay, because you're just kind of wiping it right off. But I do feel this, it's gripping the paper a little bit, okay? So let's see if that holds true, or if I'm not just imagining it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a little bit of a, I don't know, kind of a thicker slathering, okay? I have a feeling that's going to wipe right off because I just touched it with my finger and I saw bare sheet on here, okay? But that's kind of what I'm looking for. See, that's when I'm streaking right there. That's not really working, so that tells me I'm going to have to go with a thicker slathering. Let's get a little bit more ink on this cotton ball, okay? And I'm going to roughly try to kind of create a little bit of a pattern that I'll follow with my subtractive marks. In other words, I'm going to leave some little areas of streaks just so that I don't have to remove everything. I don't want to just coat this whole thing black. I want to, kind of give myself a little bit of a head start in terms of these curtain, this curtain of lights or whatever we want to call it. All right. So, like I said, I'm not going to worry too much about it because the thing that makes these types of non-porous surfaces, kind of more finicky in terms of the media that they'll accept, they also make it the most forgiving because we can just wipe it right off if we want to. Even this non-porous style of, drying pigment ink here, okay? Now, I don't know how long this is going to take to dry on here. On the foils, which are, I assume are going to be similar in composition, we're talking about maybe 2 weeks. I mean, it just depends how much ink you're layering on too, but I would say you give it a couple weeks or something like that. So this is not for someone that's going to be in a hurry to get, a card mailed out to someone. But, I don't know, this is a really fun process right here. And it's not a big hassle just to finish off a scene and to just lay it down somewhere and allow it to dry, Just, I don't know, as they say on those info commercials, just set it and forget it, or someone. So just stamp it and forget it. Okay, let's try to have... Okay, I'm going to try some of these trees down below here. Or, I don't know, maybe I'll do it in kind of like a perimeter type of thing like I've done with a lot of my scenes in the past. Actually, why don't we do something like that? I think that'll be a little bit more dynamic. I'm hoping that I can get some good impressions on here. I don't know. We'll see. Every paper is a little bit different. Every surface. Even the metallics, from metallic to metallic, I'm finding, some of them just don't accept the ink the same. Like, this one I can see it's kind of, beading. It's kind of beading a little bit, okay? So as I tap on, depending on how much ink I have on here and how much pressure, I find that I'm kind of tapping off the ink. Okay, so here's my thing. So I'm going to ink up a little bit more, and I tap a little bit lighter, and I think I get a thicker application of that media on there, okay? Now, this is an easy technique to do, okay? You just have to kind of give it a little bit of time. I mean, it is not hard to tap this out. All I'm doing is this right here. But, adjust accordingly. If you're removing too much ink, well then change up your pressure and maybe ink up a little bit more on here. I don't know, there might be different techniques too. You might be able to take some kind of re-inker fluid of, this right here and just apply it down here and spread it around. I don't know, This is not some kind of, instructional video of a how-to, I'm just kind of explaining kind of what I think I'm doing, or the process of what, seems to be working here. I'm not sure. I didn't know if it was drying on me, when I first started there. I'm kind of getting the feel of it, though, over the course of, a card, you kind of get the feel of it. Now, every time I put my finger down somewhere, I'm, like, removing it, so these fingers right here on my offhand are kind of touching that. But, I'm not going to sweat something like a little fingerprint in the side or something like that. If that's the price for, a card, if it comes out looking pretty good, hey, no big deal. It'd be like, I don't know. I know we don't, a lot of us don't like to get our fingers too inky, okay? Like if we had a choice between doing a scene and having them inky or not, I don't know. I think as stampers, we wear that ink like a badge of honor, but, if it could be clean, just, then so be it. But, I mean, relatively speaking, this is nothing compared to, like, someone that's working with ceramics, You're going to have your hand just coated with that, clay. Alright, so anyway, so this is my, kind of my general thing, and every time I touch that, it removes every little bit of ink off the side. I might even have some little oils on my hand that's kind of, as I touch that, it's kind of creating a resist to this ink. I don't know. But I think that looks about right, okay? Now, Let's take a look here, okay? I mean, that doesn't look good at all, but I'm going to try to create these little curtain-y types of things in here. Looks okay. So let's go with the dry paper towel. I think that's going to be our kind of methodology. That's what I used on my other one. On my other one, it was kind of just coming from below, in terms of these curtains. But here I have it kind of, you know, kind of like a hanging curtain or something like that. But let's just kind of start removing, okay? Now where it's kind of a little jagged here, I'm kind of getting these little scratch marks in here, okay? Let's try it both ways like this and see how it goes, okay? I think I might have to kind of, keep switching out and using a cleaner area like this, all right? I'll show you what's happening right here. See those little scratch marks? It's almost like scratch board. Okay, now I'm not just wiping off clean, okay? I'm trying to create these little textures, all right? So I'm kind of going both ways like this. And I tell you, what I feel right here is I don't have to use too much pressure, and it is wiping off clean, so I need to be careful that I just don't take off too much. But remember, if you do, you can always alter it by just going back in and just adding the ink right back in and just starting over again, okay? This is a super malleable surface and therefore very, very forgiving, okay? I don't know if this looks like Northern Lights at all. I think it looks like a big mess right now. A lot of my scenes look like big messes, okay? If you watch any of my scenes, I think people are watching it with the idea that, okay, this scene's going to come out fine, but you're not really kind of looking at it. A lot of people think, oh my gosh, you make that look so easy, like it was just looked fine the whole process, but that doesn't look, too good to me at all. But it's in its infancy, that's what you have to kind of look at, during, the course of a process, you know. It's like, it's not a finished piece, but it's kind of what, this is just one step in, the way of like anything that we're working on. Gotta be patient. You gotta be patient, but you don't have to be too patient, okay? If you're too patient, then maybe we're waiting around too much. But if you're just patient enough to where you allow something to develop, or maybe it's more about persistence, maybe I should say. You just kind of keep working with something, and just be confident that it'll either turn out or you'll learn something along the way. That's the only bad experiences are the ones that we don't learn from. Because if something doesn't work out, you just know you need to avoid that process and just, try something again, right? You're a crafting scientist. Okay. All right, so I think I have my general type of structure here with these curtains, so I'm going to try to fine-tune. I'm trying to rub a lot of that smudgy part off in there, but and I think I've taken off too much in other areas, but I don't know, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Okay, now, it looks like I'm able to take off the thicker areas, but then when I'm removing down to a clean surface, it takes a little bit more effort, which is probably good. Because I don't want it to just wipe off clean with one fell swoop, because then I can't really fine-tune and customize as easily. Okay, I gotta just keep doing, switching up right here because when I go like that and then I come back down here, if I want this area clean, I'm bringing that smudge from up there back into here, so. Alright. It's a little bit too crazy. It almost looks like wood grain. I don't want that. I want it to be more of like a glowing type of curtain back there. So I'll see if I can kind of keep manipulating a little bit more. Okay. The more I do this, kind of it feels a little bit better in terms of you know, what I'm looking at here. It's almost I feel like I don't know, not in terms of kind of the process, but the feeling of it. It feels like I'm kind of sculpting, you know, like you're taking. It feels like I'm working with a three-dimensional type of surface right here in terms of the spirit of it. Because the more I do that, I think the more it starts kind of coming around. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I can try a different. Oh, let me try something here. Let me take a cotton ball and use that in terms of creating kind of a softer edge, maybe? I don't know. If you want a kind of a softer look, right? Then use a soft material. Okay? That's in theory. I don't know if it's actually that's working fantastic, I think. It's just removing. Now it's applying, so let me use some of this drier one here, or cleaner. Right? Doesn't that make sense in theory? You want kind of a soft look, then use a soft material. Okay, so that was my cotton ball. This is a synthetic cotton ball. It's not 100% cotton. I have like a pack of these, but I find them useless to apply color with, so, looks like they're pretty good at removing, so I have something, that I can use with that. Okay, now I'm cleaning off these little smudgies right in here. I'm not going to be too concerned about a lot of this because I'm going to have some trees in here, I think. Okay, let's take a look here, and you can see what's closer up right here. But look at that. Isn't that like a kind of like a cool flame? So it was really kind of super scratchy in here. I didn't like it. Um, but that cotton ball kind of smoothed it out a little bit, or softened up some of those areas, okay? Let's see, let me try to smooth that out even more here. See, I find that this looks, kind of, well, maybe it didn't look okay. You can kind of manipulate it a little bit, It's like I'm kind of removing, then I tap it around and I'm applying, all right? But no, I don't know, it looks okay. Okay, there we go. All right. Now I've got fingerprints all over the place, but I think that's what we're working. I feel like we're working with like soot or something like that. All right, let's try some images on here, and I just hope these stamp out on there. Okay. I really hate having to use this Brilliance ink sometimes because this black one, it feels like I have to re-ink the pad every time I use it. I don't know if it's because of the quick drying aspect of it, so, you ink it up and, I don't know, it dries in the meantime, before the next use. Okay, I, eh, I think I'm gonna follow the lines on here and just go vertical. I think. Yeah, I don't think this would look good going around like in perspective like that. Yeah, maybe. Let me see. Maybe if I go a little bit like that. I think this is going to look too static going upright. Yeah. Okay, let's go. Okay, I'll go like. Oh my gosh. You gotta watch out when you're stamping a thick oil-based type of ink on top of a slick surface to begin with, but that also has some, you know, thick ink on there already. Just make sure you don't kind of slide it when you're making that contact and impression. Okay, let's see. Yeah, okay, I missed right there. Right in there. It didn't stamp that area right there. Okay, but no sweat. Let's use some more ink. Okay. I gotta make sure I'm stamping on a smooth surface too. There might. It looks like. I don't know. I think I have some stuff underneath my papers here. I need a flatter surface to work on. I need more a thicker layer of paper. There we go. I've been lazy and I haven't been switching my paper around. Okay, so we need more ink like that. I'm not worried about that. I'll just stamp something right over the top of it. Alright, so let's spread that around. And there's plenty of leeway here, but I would say, just in general, maybe don't over-ink this, you know? These pigment inks are very thick styles of ink. And I'm not using a stamp here that has a tremendous amount of detail, but if you did, you just don't want it to fill up that detail in the center. Okay, so there's that tree like that. I'm kind of aiming roughly for up there like that, so... okay, let's go a little bit higher with this one. Gosh, it is really easy to kind of make contact and then to move it kind of a micromillimeter, just because the ink is just so thick on the bottom of the stamp, and you're just stamping it into that, that really slick area. Okay, now one of the other things too, why I didn't kind of get down there, is sometimes I don't want to press too hard on there because the ink is going to like squish out, from underneath there, and I don't want to, have a blurry impression. Okay, that one's a little better. Right there. Okay. It's kind of interesting, those colors that we get from this holographic paper. All right, so I'm going to go down here and just kind of fill in that that tree down here. Okay. Inked up again. We'll go down a little bit lower. Like this. I'll overlap my previous impression. Okay, I'm getting used to stamping on this surface right here. Sometimes with my first impressions, I kind of slide it a little bit. You get kind of used to it, I think. All right, you can see where my fingerprints are getting all over right here. I'll just, refill that in later with some additional ink. Okay, I think that's it with this one. The spruce. Let's hit it with kind of a bonier tree right here. The leafless pines, large. Okay. I think it's 371G, I think. kind of stop using the leafless pines in some ways because I was just using them all the time. Not that that's bad, but I don't know. We want some variation. All right, so let's see. I'll go about right here. See, I kind of have all these trees kind of aiming right up here. I don't have a ruler or something like that. It doesn't need to be that precise, but just in general, you have them kind of going in the same, to the same vanishing point. Okay. And you say I'm not stamping, I don't know, maybe, sorry, like 2 inches of the bottom of this stamp, but I think I did re-ink enough of it, okay? Okay. That right there. I think I can use another one right over here, too. Just for some variation. Okay, so I only need to re-ink, kind of the top portion of it, maybe half or so. I might not even use half. I might use like a quarter of it. Aiming this, see? It's like here. And you're aiming it kind of like that on this side. And we'll go down about like so. Whoa. I think that looks fairly interesting. What do you think? Okay. I'm gonna use the compositional aspect of doing things in threes, so we'll go with 3 of these. 3 of the spruce trees, and 3 of the leafless trees. I don't know. Maybe 4 of the one, 3 of the other one would have been better, but I don't know. I just want to fill that up. Okay, so I think that looks pretty interesting in terms of the look. I don't know. I don't think it's bad. I'm comparing it to, utter failure though in the past. So my my expectations weren't, of this are pretty low. Okay, so I really need to go back in here. Okay, now one of the things I can see here is I think this ink is starting to set up a touch because I was able to get, gosh, I don't even know if I can show you here, but this area in here was kind of beaded a little bit, okay, with the ink, but now I was able to apply a pretty solid layer in that area. It looks flat, okay? And that looks pretty good. In terms of the coating, okay? It's not so, I don't know, what's the word? I don't know, like beaded, or I don't know, like resisted, whatever. Okay, so see, I'm trying to get rid of those fingerprints over there. I'm holding it right here, but I'm getting a fingerprint right here, so I need to be really careful. Okay. I would say just going into it, expect a bunch of fingerprints. And then when you get them, it won't be such a big deal. All right. Okay, so let's fill in there. I'm going to fill in that little area, that tree, just a touch. Now, I don't know what this would look like. Let's say if we wanted to use like a silver brilliance in there or something like for one of their trees or something like that. Future tests to come. But so far, this is looking decent as far as like a first, or should I say, well, maybe first decent you know, preliminary result so far. Okay, let me see, make sure I don't ruin it now. I'm trying to build up some ink over here just to make that one curtain over here a little bit different than this one right here. Let's say this is the dominant curtain right here in the middle. See what I mean? It's a little bit more subdued right there. I think that looks pretty good. Subdued. I think this one's just, I think that one's too much, and I think this one's too much here too. I think we can tone in over here and kind of bring more of the focal point attention in terms of color. Be careful when you're tapping over your imagery here. You don't want to smear it. I mean, I'm sure those things are completely wet still. Okay. So let's go in here like that. It's a precarious thing, but you know something about this though? These foils are, you know, they're not like your typical paper, but the end result though, you know, they can we can possibly take advantage of, you know, that dynamic characteristic of them. But maybe we're working with kind of a narrower range of both media and the way that we use the media. But, you know, I don't know, that's just the trade-off, I think. You know, we're not going to use like chalks or something like that on here. Dye-based inks, forget it. Most pigment inks aren't going to dry on here either, so. But, I don't know. I'm finding I'm kind of getting a little bit more familiar with it here. So, okay, so it was apply, remove, and then apply again, okay? I couldn't do it with like a two-step process, apply and remove. It didn't look good. So that's what I mean. You just kind of keep developing it and see what comes about. I didn't know if it was going to work, and I'm still just trying to figure it out like right now. But you just kind of, I don't know, just kind of stick with something and just see what develops. And don't give up on things too quickly. But I think that looks pretty cool. All right. See how it's kind of this area over here is kind of coming together a little bit more the darker I make it. Okay. Okay, I'm getting a little bit smudgy there, but let's see. Sometimes this isn't going on too smoothly either. It's like kind of folded in a certain way, and it's picking up that fold, but I don't know, so be it. All right. I have a feeling this is going to be a 2-week, you know, type of drying process right here. But so be it, you know. Just put it somewhere and just forget about it. I mean, I don't want something that's going to take 2 months to dry, but I don't know. I just put these things on my, you know, on a piece of paper, on the shelf, you know, or something like that, over some books or something like that. I just leave it there and, you know, come back to it and it's dry. Okay, let's put on some additional star textures up here, and we'll do it with our bleed-proof white, but I need to go and wash my toothbrush first because it's all crusted and hard from the last time I used this. Alright, so we have our Dr. Martens bleed-proof white. I wouldn't suggest putting dot by dot down with like a paint pen because all of that is really soaked and it's really wet right now, so kind of a non-contact style of star applications might be a lot easier, because if you're using a paint pen and putting dots on that, you're making contact with that wet paint and it's going to be going up, or that wet ink, and it's going to be going up into your paint pens, okay? So I think it would constantly be clogging Okay, so this is Dr. Martin's Bleed Proof White. If you haven't seen my videos before, this is an opaque white um, paint, watercolor paint, okay? And what I do is I use it on a toothbrush and I use it in a splatter painting format, okay? So I just release like a couple bristles at any given time, okay? I don't just, you know, go like zip like that, okay? I'm just going deet, deet, and then I go back and I go like that again. And it just keeps kind of releasing. Okay, so see that right there? It's kind of fun. And I'm not doing it directly over my piece. I mean, you could, but you'll if you do that, you really want to make sure that um, you're not going to drip any of the paint on your piece. Okay. All right. So see, I mean, I don't do it real fast. I try to do it in as controlled a motion as I can. See, you don't have to. You can flip your piece around like that. You can go close. You can go a little bit farther away from your piece. Okay, now, I mean, just how many stars you want to add is all up to you. Okay. I think that gives it kind of an added little texture up there, right? So look at that. And it is in this area right in here, but you really can't see the dots in there with that kind of super reflective type of quality down. I'm kind of tempted to just kind of spray it over everything where it could be snowfall too, just to get a little bit of extra texturing down here. I think that would look fairly dynamic, so let's give it a try. It's all in the spirit of kind of exploration and discovery. I always recommend to people that if you kind of have a notion of trying something and you're trying to debate on whether or not to do it or not, when it comes to stamping and crafts, I always recommend just go for it. And if you don't like it, it's not the end of the world. Just don't do it the next time, or do it differently the next time, you know. That is fun stuff. I don't know, with that Brilliance black working in there, I'm just kind of a little bit curious if I could stamp like a quote in there, like a word stamp in there. I know I can do it in black. I don't know if white would really show up on there or not. Okay, let's take a look here and see what this looks like. All right. I think that looks pretty cool. I mean, you can't beat that holographic background, okay? Now, you know how Northern Lights, when you look at them in the time-lapse thing, they kind of change like that, right? The colors, well, they don't change colors, but they look like they're in motion, and that's what this does here, in terms of, I don't know, just that characteristic in there. I don't know, I think there's a lot of possibilities with this now. Um, Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some other things, but I would suggest, fairly strong silhouette types of things on here. Um, I think, a lot of you have those die cutting machines or something like that. Just, putting die cut, types of silhouettes over the top of that, would look great. All kinds of different possibilities. So, all right. So, anyways, I think we have our first, reasonable success with this piece right here. And look at that. I don't know. Does it get any more fun than that in terms of, some sort of a dynamic type of characteristic to a given surface. Too much if it's maybe the whole thing. Maybe, I don't know. I think it looks kind of better with those curtains up there, but you could just stamp all that on here, just kind of in a little perimeter, and you can stamp like a word stamp in the middle, and just kind of bypass that whole thing, but I think that would look pretty cool. Okay, so if you have any questions, drop me a note in the comment section. Let me know what you think. And I don't know, do you have any holographic paper in your, your supplies that you've purchased, at some point in time in the past? And have you used it before? A lot of people haven't thought about stamping on metallics, and I've tried on this one before, but I think the Brilliance is kind of a good, possible kind of avenue into this surface right here. So I don't know. That's a lot of fun. So we're talking about two different mediums here, just in the Black Brilliance and the Dr. Martens Bleed Proof White. Look at that right there. That is really fun, I think. Okay,